I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to our Trek Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is the director and co-founder of Shasha Tax and Retirement and advocating behind the numbers, guiding small business or businesses from confusion to control. No other than Ms. Gale Sciascia.
Hello.
Welcome, Ms. Gale on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yes. So I am Gale Sciascia, co-founder of Shasha Tax and Retirement. My husband is my partner, and he works all of the retirement with me. And we started Shasha Tax and Retirement to fulfill the gap that is in the market for the middle class and everyone who is wanting to get a better handle on their finances and just gain their knowledge and grow their portfolios and their wealth and just help them meet their goals that they're wanting financially.
Ms. Gale Sciascia, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today let's talk about transform tax anxiety into wealth building confidence. Tell us, Ms. Sciascia, let's start with the core issue. Beyond just fear of owing money, what are the deeper emotional roots of tax anxiety for most people? Is it fear of a system, of making mistake, or something else?
Well, I think that in the media, and then just from a not understanding the tax system, that in itself is daunting to people. And it's easier to turn away from it than to look into it. And that keeps people from understanding it and what they can actually do and accomplish while using the system.
Using the system itself, you talk about transforming anxiety into confidence. How does simply changing our language around taxes from I have to pay or I get to invest actually rewire our mindset?
So the first word I would throw out is knowledge. Once people have an understanding, it decreases their anxiety. And so I think it's on the professional to make sure their clients have an understanding and to coach them and to really know what the client wants so that they can guide them in those areas. And then that anxiety can decrease and at some point not be an issue at all.
How does a scarcity mindset actively prevent people from building long term wealth, and how can they break that cycle?
Well, you have to want to take the risk. The scarcity mindset is because people don't understand the information. So again, that's on the professional to give you that knowledge and help you realize that yes, what you have may be limited, but we need to show you the ways that it can grow. And that's one of the reasons why we really dig deep with our clients to find out what their vision is, what their 1 year, 5 year, 10 year looks like, what they want to leave for their family, what they want their legacies to be. And then we can help them each step of the way in that process on how using what you have to make more is more beneficial than just wanting to keep every dollar you have right in the moment.
Every dollar for sure. And for someone who sees taxes as a penalty, how can they begin to refrain their tax payments as an investment to their community and infrastructure, which in turn supports their wealth?
So that was a little bit harder. I think in order to not see it as a penalty, you really need to be involved with your local community. You need to be aware what's happening with politics. So it becomes a broader subject when you ask a question like that than it may seem. So when you don't want to think of it as a penalty, then you have to understand what's being done with the money. You have to understand where it's going, what it's funding, and at the core of that, you hope it aligns with the things that you believe in. But that's a really big topic and a really big question.
Big topic indeed, Miss Sasha. And on system and strategy, why is the key to tax confidence found in actions you take in, not just every month?
Well, you want a long-term plan, right?
Yes.
You'll always have short-term plays, just whether it's with the market or your job, even you'll always have short-term plays, but you want to build out a vision. So you have to invest the time in it. You have to think about what your dreams are and be willing to commit to that to get to that goal.
Yes, for sure. And what is the first, simplest system someone should set up today to automatically separate their money for taxes, bills, and investing so they are not caught off guard?
So, a good thing to do is you want to have savings, you want to have an emergency account. But more than anything else, you can set all the accounts you want, but if you don't have discipline, then you've just opened a lot of accounts that still won't have any money in it. So discipline is going to be the first thing you have to have. And once you know what you want to do, then you're going to, and it will, of course, depend on your income, but you're going to want to put savings aside. You're going to want to have an emergency fund. You're going to want to live a little bit below your means so that you can then take that extra $100 that you might have gone out to the club with and put it in the market, or invest in an insurance plan or a CD at your local bank. So there's some things that you can do, but you want to make sure you have that discipline for it, because you don't want to start it and then pull it out immediately, because these things will have consequences. If you pull your stock out before you've made any money on it, you might sell at a loss. And if you put it in a CD and you pull it out before the expiration of that CD, then you're going to take a loss on that investment. So you definitely want to have the discipline.
Discipline for sure, people. Discipline is one of the key to success. For someone who is not financially professional, what should a simple 30-minute quarterly tax check-in look like? What are the things must they review?
So simple things that you can do. No matter where you have your taxes prepared, your form should tell you what your tax rate is. And so in mid-year, I always advise clients to take a look at your paycheck. If your wages and the amount of income tax that has been taken from your wages isn't half of what that percentage is for the year, then you want to make an adjustment to your W-4 so that you can up that and you won't end up owing money at the end of the year. So keeping a pulse on your paycheck and the taxes being taken out is one thing that you can do. Taking a look at your bills and how you're spending your money. That can be monthly. That doesn't even have to occur a couple times a year. That should really occur monthly. So just so you can know and have a handle. Are you really watching all of the apps that you have on your TV? Are you really using the upgraded Spotify? Are you really using the upgraded YouTube that you're paying for? And if you're not using those things actively, or if it's not productive for you, in those subscriptions, and you will see how much money that you can actually save by closing the subscriptions of things that you're not actually using or that are not really beneficial for you. And then investing in self knowledge. I encourage that for everyone. Find books that will help you with your temperament and with your planning and help you, stick with things. Mel Robbins, I really like her. She is very good at helping you get unstuck, if you will. And one of her best books is The 5 Second Rule. Really, really good book. And it just gives you the psychology of the mind and how quickly we change our minds, and how to get out of that. And that will help you be more productive, and it will help you look at what you're doing, which in turn will help you make better decisions. So it's not just for tax planning or retirement planning, but it's going to become a way of life, really, once you start being determined, start having a plan, and start being disciplined.
Yes, again, people, discipline, discipline. For someone who's not financially professional, tell us, beyond the standard, a home office or millage, what is the often overlooked deduction or credit that freelancers and entrepreneurs frequently miss that can significantly impact their tax bill?
So, what I don't think for either it's terribly significant, but it can make a difference. As far as automobiles, a lot of people just take their mileage without the understanding that you need to keep track of your actual expenses. If you drive for a living, you're going to need new tires. You'll need your oil changed. Depending on what you're doing, you may even need car washes every week. Those things will add up. And so when you're looking at your using your vehicle as a small business, you get to weigh that option every year. And if your actual expenses are higher, you want to take that year instead of your mileage deduction. So I think it's definitely something that people overlook. Um, but it will, just depend on how you're using your vehicle, how substantial it is. And for home offices, people often overlook their rent or their mortgage as a part of their deduction. So it's often misused because people don't have a dedicated space in their home. But if you have that dedicated space, you need to make sure that you are netting that percentage of space with all of your household bills. That includes your mortgage or rent, your utilities, your internet. If you're having clients at your home and you need security, then you want to have that included. If you're having clients at your home and you need lawn care, you want to make sure that's included. And just some of those small things when you're client facing at home are definitely deductions that people do miss.
Miss Sasha, how about how can understanding the tax advantage or advantages of a different retirement accounts become one of the most powerful wealth building tools of self-employed person?
So a lot of self-employed businesses don't understand that they have the same capacity as the W-2 companies they used to work for. And that means that they can put in defined benefit plans for themselves. That means they can make the contribution in instances as the employer and as the employee. And that gives you great latitude for building your wealth. It also gives you great latitude for the write-offs that your company can take. And so retirement is a really big area that self-employed businesses miss. It does become where you will need a financial expert because you have to put these things in place, and there's time limits on it during the year when you have to have it set up. But once you have those things in place, it becomes incredibly beneficial to your bottom line as an individual and as a business.
Incredible indeed if you maximize all those things for
Absolutely.
sure. And How about building confidence and knowledge, Miss Gale? What are the three most critical numbers a person should know off the top of their head of feel instantly more confident about their tax situation?
I think you should know your tax bracket. I think you should know your gross income. And if you're a small business, you should know what your expenses are for the year, at least in general. Um, you're always going to have a little bit of leeway up or down on what you may need or not need unexpectedly. Um, but definitely you should have an idea of what your expenses will be for the year so that you can plan for it. And those are three numbers that you should always be aware of. Your tax bracket is going to be important if you're selling stock. You know, if you've held it short term, then your capital gain or loss is going to be more. You need to know what that tax bracket is. Um, if you're, buying a house, it depends on so many things. Your tax bracket is going to be very important. Your gross income is going to allow you to know what you can afford. Okay. Banks are going to look at your gross income if you need a loan, if you need to buy a car, if you want to take on investors. The gross income is going to make a really big difference. And the same with knowing your expenses is going to help you know what your net income should be, which is also going to be very important when it comes down to can you pay your bills, and if you can take on investors and what they can expect. So those three things are, in my mind, very important for you to be aware of.
Thank you for that, Miss Sasha. Be aware of those people and what a specific trigger, a income level, a business structure, of life event that is signals is no longer a DIY moment and it's time to hire a professional like you.
Well, I think that is very, it's ever changing. It depends on what your comfort level is and what your knowledge base is. But I would say the moment you run into something that you are having difficulty with, then you want to start asking questions. Um, for business owners, I often advise if you're going to do your own books and your own taxes, weigh that against what it costs you in time. Is that cost benefit there? Is it going to take more out of you as the owner? Is it going to take more away from your business for you to sit down and do these things or to have someone else do it? And which one is more important? So it's not necessarily a number as in how much you earn. It's more of what do you understand and what makes sense for your business or for your life. So it's going to be very subjective, different people.
So, Miss Gill, what is specific trigger or what is the question someone should ask when interviewing a CPA or tax professional to ensure they are partner wealth building and not just a form filler?
Well, you first want to make sure that your advisor is aligned with your business, right? So we
Yes.
don't want to be a real estate investor and go to a professional that has no real estate investing practice, right? They don't have any experience with it. So you want to make sure that the experience is there. And then you want to have just a general conversation with them and see how they answer your questions, because that's a big part of what we see in today is that people are with their advisors, but they don't know how to talk to their advisors or they're afraid to ask them questions. And that shouldn't be a thing. So if you're choosing someone, that needs to be a natural conversation. It needs to be a flowing conversation where you're not scolded for not knowing, and information is uh, freely given, and questions are encouraged. And you're not getting one word answers. You're not getting, I'll just get back to you, or just let me do my job. You're not getting that kind of feeling from that professional. So you definitely want to make sure that you can talk to them and ask them questions, and that you're comfortable with the way that they answer you, and that you can receive their information.
Miss Gail, how much a tax anxiety is driven by irrational fear of audit, and what is the realistic, non-scary process of responding to one actually look like for a prepared person?
Can you repeat that?
How much of a tax anxiety is driven by irrational fear of an audit, and what does the realistic, non-scary process of responding to one actually look like for a prepared person?
So I think the anxiety around it is high, but I don't think it should be. Because
Mm.
as professionals, if we prepare you, and as individuals or business owners, if you follow the instructions and guidelines that you're given, you shouldn't have any anxiety. I don't, my clients don't have anxiety about audits, because we prepare them and we let them know the proper way to do things and where red flags are. And we let them know why we're asking questions and how to prepare themselves with documentation. And for the people who are doing maybe things that they shouldn't, then yes, of course, you should have high anxiety all the time. Um, but that doesn't really tend to be the case if you do your job as a professional. And when you are having an audit, it will be a little anxious, but not a lot, because you know you've done all of the proper things. And when questions are asked, you know you can answer them. And then it doesn't really end up being a big issue. Problem is, people don't really come to us until after they've done the wrong thing, and it is a really big issue.
That's the always issue, Miss Gail. People will come to you once they have a problem. But anyway,
Absolutely.
people, please hire Miss Gail Sciascia while you are in a good, smooth process of your business. And tell us, Miss Gail, why is getting large tax refund actually a signal of a poor financial planning? And how can someone reallocate the money through the year to build wealth instead?
So, what I like to tell people is, when you get a large refund, that means you have given the government an interest free loan all
Mm.
year. It's not a good thing. Like, we want you to just owe a couple dollars or owe nothing at all, maybe have $100 refund. That's pretty much our goal. And that means you have your money in your pocket, which means you can allocate it the way that you would like for it to be allocated during the year, whether that's in that savings account, in that emergency fund, or putting it into the market. You get to choose, and you get to earn interest on your money all year, rather than giving an interest free loan. So we take that approach with our clients so that they can understand that you're not making money off of what you are getting, and help them understand that the government has your money and they are making interest on your money, and you don't get to see any of it. So it's just kind of helping them reframe that thought process, and understand that they can do more with their money and during the year.
Miss Gill, what point should a freelancer or side hustle or hustler consider moving from a sole proprietor or, yes, to corp or LLC? Not for liability, but specifically for tax and wealth building advantage.
So it's hard to talk about either without addressing the liability. It's a it's a failsafe if you do it properly. And so you never want your personal assets on the line. And you can't really talk about wealth building or saving when everything you have is on the line. And that's what happens when you're a sole proprietor. So if
Hmm.
you're sued as a sole proprietor, your home, your car, your pension, your retirement accounts, it's all on the table. Versus if you're in an LLC, you're limited. If you're following the rules, you're limited to what money is in that LLC as to what someone could sue you for. Um, and so you can't really speak to one without addressing the other. Um, it takes just a few $100s to start an LLC and have that protection in case you need it. So I don't really go on a dollar amount. I think you have to build out with the vision of expanding in mind. Um, so if you're over $600, which is what the IRS would say, then you're not considered a hobby. And that is when you would want to go ahead and put an LLC in place, take the time, take the money, spend it, and get yourself set up properly. And that way you don't have that liability worry. And then you can start building out from there.
Interesting facts, Miss Gale. So, can you explain the concept of tax loss harvesting in a simple, relatable way?
So, tax loss harvesting is when you want to lower your taxable income by selling stock that you have at a loss. If your capital gains is what it would be, is just $3,000 if I'm not mistaken at this point. So you could sell at a loss of $3,000, and that would it would lower your taxable income because you would be able to take that loss on just a standard 1040. That's without any complications, and under certain income limits. So it depends on your tax bracket, but it would roughly be about $3,000.
And how does a strategic approach to taxes today directly contribute to more secure and earlier retirement tomorrow?
So again, it's all about the plan. If
Mm.
you are younger and you want to be very aggressive, especially if you're in the market, then that's how we help you build out and you use more of your money and you take more risks now. And if you are older and have a shorter period before you retire, we still try and help you work within those constraints. But we might put you in something a little bit more conservative. It might be a little bit higher cost, but on the other side of that, you might get dividends, or it might just be a really high performing stock that doesn't have as much risk. Um, and so there's a avenue for wherever you are in life that you can build that out, based on when you would like to retire. And of course, we would also look at other things like any 401ks you have, any pensions, what your Social Security looks like, which I don't think a lot of people know that you can actually go on a Social Security website, create an account, and see what those numbers look like for you, even right now where you are. Even if you have 20 years to go before retirement, you can see what you've built up. And that can also factor into what your retirement plan becomes.
For someone feeling completely overwhelmed and anxious right now, what is the single smallest, least intimidating first step they can take this week to start regaining control?
Make a list. Start a list of what you want and how you envision it. And as you go through this list, you can determine when you want to contact a professional. Um, you can determine when you can start saving, what types of accounts that you want. It's all about your vision. And for me, putting something on paper makes it real. Being able to go back and look at it day after day or several times a day makes it real. It helps me focus. And then as I'm doing these things, I can mark my progress. I can cross it off. I can update with notes on what the hangup is or how I can improve it. And that in turn also helps you sharpen your vision and realize things that you don't actually want, or moves that you want to make that you hadn't thought about. And so I'm a big advocate for journaling in that nature, so that you can just see what you want and then start to make it happen.
Start to make it happen, people. Make that list. And before we wrap up our discussion, Ms. Gail, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people, because my Abstract Essay is already in fifth season, Abstract Poetry in second season, and my Book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my Food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, a Movie 101 review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Gail, ultimately, is the goal to minimize taxes or to optimize your entire financial life with taxes as a key factor. What is the difference in outcome between those two mindsets?
I didn't catch all that, Daniel. Will you repeat that, please?
Yes, ultimately is the goal to minimize taxes or to optimize your entire financial life with taxes as a key factor. What is the difference outcome between the two mindset?
Well, if you just want to minimize taxes, I think that's very much a short-term play.
Yes.
But if you want to build and optimize and look towards the future, then you're going to go with that latter. And that's the way that you're actually going to do it. You're going to envision it, make a plan, and build it out. And again, be disciplined and stick with it. So those two mindsets is the difference. And one is very much short term, and one is very much a longer term.
Miss Gale Sciascia, the director and co-founder of Shasha Tax and Retirement. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering advocacy to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh, definitely. And thank you for that. If people have questions or would like consults, then we can be reached at contact@shashatr.com. We are also opening a school channel, which will be for professionals who want to have some different engagement and learning how to communicate with clients. We are always ready for you with representation, tax planning, tax strategy, and retirement. So just give us a call at 615-723-1570 or contact us at contact@shashatr.com.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Gale Sciascia, because if you support her, for sure, more and more advocating behind the numbers, for sure. So, Miss Gale, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.